All right. Gonna swap the hood and bumper on this. We'll get to that another time. Rob Ferrari here. What's going on? It's coming up on Memorial Day weekend, which means we're really busy, but a lot of things are happening, and unfortunately, I'm not getting my my car done, my 488, by Memorial Day weekend, which is what I was shooting for. Clutch came in for the Aventador, which is huge. I'll show you that another time. But this car is done. We're getting all the 360s done. When I say we, you know, we. I'm going to have to make a we t-shirt. This car was done. It was a piston in the top, which the piston needed to be replaced, and it was really not as bad as you would think. The labor was about 3 hours for the top, and then like 2 or 3 hours to swap the fuel pump, which was leaking or cracked or leaking. Fairly common, excuse me, fairly common problem on these cars. But like you consider like the top failure, top leaking, this is like a fairly big job. You're looking at 5 or 6 hours of labor, and then I don't know, $1,000 in parts. So really not a overwhelming job. Maybe $2,000 to get that fixed. This 360 that I showed you, that was like a Sebring convertible, which needs needed the trans. That's a fairly substantial thing. That's like when you need a trans, you think of that as like a worst case scenario, trans or engine. And it really wasn't that bad. If you consider the car is $75,000, the trans is probably, I don't know what the new parts cost is, but a used trans is like $7 or $8 grand. Here's a Ferrari box, and what's important about Ferrari boxes is I've got a bunch of them, because the 488, although it's not done, is making significant progress. The body panels are in and painted, and there's a supplement now, and the supplement is sort of annoying because I'm learning things about Ferrari. Now, Ferrari wants to do a crash report on these cars, which I totally agree with. Like, it's great that if you need certain parts for a car, that you're doing a crash report, which allows Ferrari to know that the car was in an accident. I think that's more so to avoid the warranty, or to make an acknowledgement of what's been replaced in case a warranty claim is made. But the idea behind it makes sense. Even if somebody's got to keep a record of a car, especially when Ferraris hold value in the future if they were ever in a significant accident. And I do like that. The process to get the rotor, which was tough, and then the front frame piece was required a lot of documentation through Ferrari to get that done. Now, I got one of the fender wells was wrong. They sent me a left side instead of a right side. But we're coming right over here, and I will show you the current look. Wheels are not here. Wheels are over there. This is all going back together, obviously looking good. We cracked this, taking the bumper off, so we had to get another one of those. But here is something I didn't realize. So the rotor, right? And this is sort of weird to me. I don't get it. The rotors on exotics and on these things, the carbon ceramic rotors, a lot of dealers will tell you they're good for the life of the car, right? They're good because most people don't put more than 50, 60,000 miles on it. On our challenge car, on some other cars, you see them get chewed up in 20,000 miles, and that's all track use. But on a street car, it's rare that you replace a set of carbon ceramic rotors before, say, 50,000 miles. This car just ticked 5,000 miles. When I say just ticked, it's like 5,050 or something like that. And Ferrari would not sell just the one rotor. Now, this rotor's cracked. There's an impact on the side. That makes perfect sense that you would have to replace it. They made us buy the two rear rotors in a pair. After we documented, they needed the thickness of the rotor. And if a rotor is supposed to go 50, 60,000 miles, say this rotor's like 5% worn, maybe 8% worn, whatever it is, I wouldn't have replaced the other rotor. But they made us do it because they won't sell just one. And I don't know really the rationale behind that, because one rotor for this car is it's like $5 grand. So that's now $10,000 for a pair of rotors. This repair is approaching $120,000, which is a lot more than my initial estimate was, or than I originally thought. This is the new airbag, and that's another headache in itself, and I'll show you that in a second. This airbag is what opened up, blew out, and ruined the door, and that's proving to be a big headache because the door panel, and they quoted me anywhere between $5,000 or $10,000, were waiting because he had to put the order in, because he's like, look, it lists at like $5,000, and I have one on order. When I put it in, it came back at $10,000. So I'm going to put the order in, see what it comes back at before I give you a final price on it. But the airbag itself the airbag blows out the door, and now I can potentially, they're telling me 2 months on the door panel. So I got to figure out a way to either repair the other door panel so we have something temporarily. It's not going to look that great, but at least I can rent the car, or I lose another 2 months on this car. And yeah, great, Rob, you get to go after loss of use to the insurance company. I don't want to do that. I don't care about that. I want to get the car in the hands of the customer, because that's why I'm in business, not to try to squeeze the insurance company for loss of use, because that's always a fight anyway. There's the new seatbelt module that's going in. The bumper, I don't know where they put the new bumper. Everything's painted, so you see down there that was damaged. The mirror was replaced. This is a new mirror, painted. Front bumper is somewhere. That's not it. There's the new under tray. There's the new, I don't know if that's the wrong one, the new fender well. We got one wrong fender well. But, I mean, this car is almost done. The only thing we're waiting on now is we have to take this whole thing apart to fix that little frame piece. So I'd still say we're about a week away from getting it at least operational, which sucks, because I was hoping to have it for Memorial Day weekend. I've had to cancel a bunch of rentals already, because you can't run a rental business and not book business. So if you expect the car to be down for 3 weeks, you start taking reservations at the end of those 3 weeks. Obviously, it's been down longer than 3 weeks now, so I've had to be like, look, I took your reservation, but the car is unavailable. It's still in the shop, and that pushes it back. But other things are progressing as well, not just this. Let me show you the door panel first, then I'll go show you the warehouse, and then I'll see you tomorrow. But stand by. All right, here's the door panel, and as you can see, the airbag sits behind this frame and rips open the door, and the leather literally just tears. Obviously, the leather is not going to stop the force of the airbag, so this does have to be replaced. What we're going to try to do is replace this, or at least bend this back, so we can patch the leather. And when I say patch the leather, it's going to be, I mean, you're not going to make this, you can't put the Humpty Dumpty back together again, but at least it'll be sufficient when we tell people, like, look, it was either a slightly patched up door panel, which is going to have like 2 lines there and there, and maybe a wrinkle across. It's better to tell them that and give them a car than say, I'm sorry, I can't give you the 488 because we don't have a door panel for it, and lose a significant amount of time. All right, now to the warehouse. Let me show you what we're doing over there. Here's where we are with the warehouse. So we don't have the garage door yet. I'm waiting on that, but we dug out, we had the ground dug out to build a ramp, because obviously we had to clear that 9-inch gap. And we're making a 13-foot ramp. So the grade is, I don't know, I'm not doing the math right now, but the grade is sufficient to get all the cars up there, even my Corvette, without scraping. And then the 13-foot ramp also will not block anything having to do with the dumpster. The ramp will come out to say here, and then the trucks can go in and out. There's a tank underneath that mound over there that they may remove, but who knows. Let's go inside. This will not be my door because I will have a warehouse, but look at this. The sounds of silence in here. But you can see how the walls are being framed out. We're coming. Don't step in the pit. So you're going to pull in from this door here, and I'll probably make this area, and I just don't have it sketched out yet, maybe just a storage area over here, because this pole is going to get in the way of anything. This can either be like a light office or a desk or two, or a storage area. The lifts will go here and then work their way across. And then this will be the door to go to the bathroom and everything like that. But this is essentially the point, and it's obviously we got to tighten it on the top and the bottom, how you make a wall out of nothing is essentially you take this frame and then you hard nail it into the ground to frame out the space. Then you put these in, which are going to be what you drill the wall into, and you make your frame. You also have those same metal pieces on the ceiling. So then you'll get your wall. And then this is 16-foot sheetrock. Got 110 of these things. And those will go up on both sides of the wall after you put the insulation and any electrical or anything like that in the middle. These holes obviously are so you can run electrical or whatever you want through the wall without any real issue. But you can see the frame out is coming along pretty well. Rented the scissor lift. You know how much a scissor lift is? $300 a week. Not really that bad. The floors, I got to figure out what to do with the floors. Each one of these gaps between the poles will be able to house a 2-car lift. So that's 4 total cars in between each pole. So that's 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18 over here. And then we can just ground park cars over here. And this is the only thing I was sort of like not a big fan of, but it sort of works. This, I understand having a hallway here for another exit point from that warehouse, and also to encapsulate this, so this is all separate. But I don't know why the wall didn't just come to here, because you have that exhaust fan up there. So now we're going sort of past the exhaust fan, and this is all just, I don't know, this is absolute dead space here. This is useless. I mean, it would be a great spot for like a bathroom, but there's no plumbing here. Let me Casper my way through these walls. Non-existent walls now. The office will probably go right here, or whatever the desks, when I say office, I just mean desks where we'll work. The lighting will all change, and this is your update. We're waiting on a rough-in inspection. A rough-in inspection is when you sort of put up the walls, and before you close the walls, you have the town come out and verify that everything's up to code, everything is good, and they give you the approval to close up the walls and do the finishes. Then they inspect it again, then you get a CO, which is what they do to allow you to occupy the space. Without a CO, you cannot occupy the space. There you have it. I've got nothing more for you today. I will see you tomorrow. Maybe. My upload schedule has been all over the place, but I might see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. For those of you not familiar with my other company, I started a company called Adventure Drives, which combines driving and bucket list travel. It's a lot of fun. Our next trip, we're off to Europe in July. If you're interested, prices can be done per person. Don't worry, if you don't have somebody to go with you, we can match you up with somebody. You can check the link in the description for adventuredrives.com and sign up today.